The hidden wealth code. The invisible question that changes everything. Most people wake up each day without ever asking themselves a single question. Not about work, not about money, not about the meaning of what they're doing. Just motion. Wake up, eat, go to work, scroll a bit, sleep, repeat. And yet there's one question that changes everything. Not instantly, but permanently. How should you live your life in this world? Not how to make more money, not how to retire early, not how to hustle better. How should you live? That's the question almost nobody asks. Not your parents, not your teachers, not even your friends. Because asking it would force you to slow down and thinking can be uncomfortable. But if you answer that one question with clarity, everything else starts falling into place. Wealth, time, health, freedom. You don't need to chase them. They begin to show up on their own, not because you worked harder, but because your life has direction. Clear direction removes confusion, and confusion is what keeps most people broke. Look at people you admire. They don't chase everything. They build something. That's the difference. Wealthy people don't ask, how can I get rich? They ask, what kind of life do I want to build? That's a question that creates clarity, and clarity creates movement. If you don't decide how to live, the world decides for you. Your boss, your bills, your calendar. They all begin writing your script, and you're just reading lines. So ask yourself today, are you the author of your life, or just an actor in someone else's? The passive path is built on this question, not how to make more money, but how to build the kind of life where money comes naturally. Because the biggest financial unlock is not a new side hustle, it's a shift in the script. If you were writing your own life story today, would your current life make it into chapter 1? What happens when you stop chasing and start choosing? You're the main character, so act like it when you were a kid. You imagined yourself as the hero, the one who saves the world, the one who changes everything. But somewhere along the way, you stopped. Not because you changed, because the world told you to shrink. You got older, you got tired, you got practical. And now most people walk around like extras in their own movie, doing scenes someone else wrote, living stories they don't even like, thinking they're too ordinary to do anything big. But here's the truth. You were never meant to play small. You were never supposed to be background noise. You were supposed to lead. You were supposed to move. You were supposed to build. Being average is not the goal. Being invisible is not the win. The passive path isn't about sitting quietly and hoping things improve. It's about realizing this is your stage. You get to write the script. You get to change the ending. Think of every person you admire. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait to be picked. They picked themselves. Every day they made one decision: to live like they mattered, to act like the main character. Not in an arrogant way, in a clear way. Because if you don't believe your life matters, who will? Your choices set the tone for your future. Every decision you make is a sentence in your story. So ask yourself, what kind of story are you writing? And who are you becoming by the end of it? What if the only thing holding you back was forgetting that you were the lead all along? The power of starting where you are. Inamori Kazuo didn't start rich. He didn't have the right connections. He didn't have a fancy degree. He barely made it through school. And his first job? At a factory on the edge of collapse. No money, no security, no future. Most people would quit. Most people did quit, but he stayed. He worked for almost nothing. He lived inside the lab. He focused while others panicked. And because no one else stayed, he learned everything. Not by being the smartest, by being the one who showed up when no one else would. Sometimes the fastest way to learn is to be the last one standing. The factory owner had no choice. He shared every trade secret with the kid who wouldn't leave. That's how Inamori became an expert in weeks, not years. Not because of talent, because of commitment. Most people avoid the messy beginnings. They wait for the perfect job, the perfect team, the perfect timing. But wealth doesn't show up where it's easy. It shows up where others leave. The best opportunities often look like bad ones at first. Ask anyone who built something from nothing. They didn't wait to feel ready. They started with what they had. Howard Schultz grew up in public housing. He didn't have money or status, but he saw potential in a small coffee chain and built Starbucks. Sarah Blakely sold fax machines door to door. She used $5,000 of her savings to start Spanx. Jeff Bezos started Amazon in a garage. If you think your starting point is the problem, you're looking in the wrong direction. It's not where you begin, it's what you build from it. The passive path is filled with stories like these. People who turned the lowest points into the launch pad. So ask yourself, are you rejecting your future just because today doesn't look perfect? What if the worst place you've ever been is the best place to begin? Seeing the future before it happens, before big moves come clear visions, not business plans, not spreadsheets, just vision. Successful people see things others can't. Inamori Kazuo said he could see the outcome before starting a project. Not hope, not a guess, a picture. He once said if he couldn't see a clear image of success in his mind, he wouldn't move forward. And when he did see it, he never failed. That clarity wasn't magic. It came from alignment. His heart and his mind were in sync. He wasn't chasing money. He was chasing direction. Steve Jobs saw the iPhone long before anyone else imagined it. Elon Musk talked about Mars when others laughed at electric cars. Oprah believed in her platform when she was still being told she didn't belong. They all moved with inner certainty. Not because they had proof, but because they trusted their vision. Most people never stop to ask what they actually want. They follow trends. They copy others. They chase opportunities with no direction. And then they wonder why they burn out. But when your actions match your vision, you move faster. You're not pushing, you're pulled. The passive path is about getting to that place where you stop needing permission to believe in what you see, where you stop doubting what your gut already knows. Because the best ideas don't start on paper, they start inside you. So ask yourself, do you see anything ahead? And if you don't, are you too distracted to notice? What if clarity isn't something you wait for, but something you practice? The obsession phase, what most people won't do. There's a level of focus that feels like madness, not burnout, not hustle, real obsession. When every part of your day circles back to one thing, you eat and think about it. You shower and think about it. You walk and your mind loops back again. It's not forced, it's natural. The idea won't leave you alone. That's when you know you're close to something real. Inamori Kazuo once worked around the clock in a failing factory. He wasn't paid, he wasn't thanked. He wasn't even sure it would work, but he couldn't stop thinking about it. That obsession helped him learn more in 1 month than most learn in years. He wasn't smarter, he was consumed. The world tells you to have balance. And yes, rest matters. But when something calls you, ignoring it is worse. Steve Jobs called his creative space the most important room in the company. Not the meeting room, not the investor room. The quiet space where he could think. He knew something others didn't. You don't build breakthroughs with scattered energy, you build them with total attention. If you're jumping between 10 things, none of them will grow. But if you give one thing your full mind, it expands. The passive path isn't about doing more, it's about going deeper. Most people won't do that. They want results without obsession. They want success without immersion. But real success demands your presence. So ask yourself, is there something in your life right now you can't stop thinking about? And if not, what are you spending your attention on? What if the thing you're meant to build is the thing you keep trying to quiet down? Why you must start your own thing? You don't need to build a billion-dollar company. You don't need to be famous. But you do need ownership. You need something that's yours. Not a job someone gave you. Not a task list from a manager. Your own project. Your own lane. Because ownership changes how you think. It forces growth. It demands clarity. It gives your time meaning. Inamori Kazuo believed everyone should start something, not for money, for personal power, the kind that comes from knowing you can build. Even something small, a service, a store, a product, a book. You don't need a perfect idea. You need motion. Start with what bothers you. Start with what you wish existed. Start with what you can explain to a 10-year-old. That's enough. The doubts will come. You'll think you're too young, or too old, or too busy. But those are just delays in disguise. Age doesn't stop ideas. Time doesn't kill vision. Fear does. And fear usually comes dressed as logic. The people who built Shopify started with a snowboard store. The founder of Airbnb rented out a mattress in his living room. The woman who built Bumble started over after a toxic exit. They didn't wait to feel ready. They moved. And as they moved, the path made itself clearer. The passive path is built by people who stop waiting. So ask yourself, if you had to start something this month, what would it be? And what's more risky? Failing at something you chose, or succeeding at something you don't care about? What if your future freedom depends on building something today, no matter how small? Connecting with your higher self. Some people call it intuition. Others call it alignment. But the most successful people call it necessary. They don't just think, they listen to something deeper. Inamori Kazuo said his biggest decisions didn't come from logic. They came from clarity, from stillness. He didn't rush. He waited until the answer felt right. Then he moved fast. That's what most people miss. They act without knowing. They chase without seeing. They force without feeling. But your best decisions won't come from pressure. They'll come from peace. Your higher self doesn't scream. It whispers. You have to get quiet to hear it. That's why people like Elon Musk meditate. That's why Jack Ma built a retreat center. That's why Jobs protected his creative space. They weren't escaping. They were connecting to themselves, to vision, to insight. When your heart and mind line up, doubt disappears. You act with conviction. You move with calm. And even when it's hard, you know why you're doing it. That's what makes the difference. The passive path isn't built on hustle, it's built on inner alignment. So if you're confused right now, try less doing and more listening. Sit with the question, let the answer come. It always does. So ask yourself, when was the last time you got quiet long enough to hear your own direction? And what if the thing you're searching for has been inside you the whole time? The library of the universe. Imagine a library that holds every answer you need. Not just facts, clarity, direction, solutions. Inamori Kazuo believed this library was real, not outside of you, inside. He said the universe gives answers to those who ask with focus, but not through thinking, through stillness. He once spent days obsessing over a technical problem. No breakthrough came. Then one day, he accidentally spilled glue on his sleeve. It stuck instantly. That became the answer, not because he forced it, because he never stopped thinking about it. The answer found him. That's how real ideas work. They arrive when the noise fades. They land when your mind is open, when you stop trying to be clever and start being clear. Einstein said his best ideas came during walks, not meetings, not deadlines, but silence, because clarity doesn't live in chaos. It lives in the quiet space behind your eyes. That's the library, and it's always open, but you need the right key. The key is attention. Not scattered, multitasked, endless scrolling attention. Still attention, focused presence. Most people never access this place, not because it's hidden, because they never pause long enough to enter. The passive path leads to that door, because you can't build anything great if you can't hear yourself think. So ask yourself, what question are you carrying right now? And are you giving it the stillness it needs to be answered? What if the answer isn't missing? You're just too loud to hear it. Living fully in the present long-term plan sounds smart, but life doesn't follow blueprints. Inamori Kazuo never wrote 10-year plans. He focused on one thing, doing today well. That was enough. And it worked. His companies thrived. Not because he predicted the future, because he mastered the present. Most long-term plans fail. Not because they're bad, because life changes. Markets shift. People leave. Technology evolves. You don't control the future. You control now. The past is over. The future isn't real yet. Only this moment exists. But most people live somewhere else. In regrets. In fears. In old wounds and future worries. They check out of the present and wonder why life feels hollow. Real peace is always found now. Not later. Not someday. Now. Children live in the now. That's why they laugh easily. Cry fully. Recover fast. They don't drag pain forward. They don't project fears outward. They just live. And in doing so, they feel everything. Adults lose that. They hold on too long. They fear too far ahead. But you can return to now. It takes practice. It takes presence. It takes trust. The passive path isn't about ignoring the future. It's about mastering the moment that builds it. So ask yourself, are you actually here right now, or are you reliving something that ended? What if your whole life shifts when you finally decide to be present? The formula the wealthy actually use: most people chase results with force, but the wealthy move with flow. They follow a quiet loop. 3 steps, always the same. Step 1, decide what you want, not vaguely, not half-hearted, crystal clear. A number, a goal, a lifestyle, a feeling. Step 2, believe it's already yours. Feel it like it's real. Act like you're preparing for it. Step 3, receive it. Take the step when the door opens. Move when the moment comes. No hesitation, no shrinking. That's it. Decide, believe, act. Most people skip step 2. They don't believe. They say they do, but their actions say otherwise. They doubt. They wait. they self-sabotage. Belief isn't talk, it's behavior. When you believe something is yours, you prepare like it's coming. You study, you invest, you organize, you move. That's what separates dreamers from builders. The people who build know it's already done in their mind. They just show up until it becomes physical. Inamori Kazuo didn't start with wealth. He started with belief. He saw things before they existed, and he moved like they were real. He showed up like it mattered, so they became real. The passive path uses the same loop. Clear want, quiet belief, bold movement. So ask yourself, what do you want right now? And are you living like it's already on the way? What if the distance between you and your goal is just your willingness to believe it's yours? Why most people stay poor? Poverty starts in the mind, not in the wallet. Scarcity thinking keeps people trapped. They see the world as limited. They believe someone else's win means their loss. They hold tightly to what they have. They avoid risk. They fear failure, so they stay stuck. They don't invest. They don't ask. They don't try. They stay comfortable, and comfort kills growth. Negative energy attracts more of itself. Worry attracts more worry. Fear pulls in more fear. If you expect rejection, you find it. If you expect loss, you repeat it. That's why some people keep losing. Not because of bad luck, because their mind replays old scripts over and over. Even when their situation changes, their identity doesn't. They still think like the person who had nothing. So they sabotage progress. They reject opportunities. They trust too little. They try too late, but it can shift. Abundance starts in the same place, the mind. You believe there's enough. You trust your ability to earn. You see money as a tool, not a test. You treat risk as part of the process. You move before you feel safe. Wealthy people don't avoid fear. They move through it faster. They understand the cost of delay is greater than the cost of failure. The passive path isn't about blind optimism. It's about choosing growth over fear. So ask yourself, where are you shrinking right now? And what belief is keeping you there? What if staying poor isn't about lack of money, but a refusal to let go of fear? The final lesson, wealth is a spiritual game. At some point, every successful person realizes something deeper. Money isn't the goal. It's a reflection of growth, of clarity, of alignment. Inamori Kazuo built companies, but his real work was internal. He lived with intention. He acted with presence. He created from peace, not panic, not pressure. He believed your outer world mirrors your inner world. If you're scattered, your results are too. If you're grounded, your life stabilizes. That's why Jobs protected his space. Why Gates retreats for deep thinking. Why Musk talks about consciousness. They're not just building products, they're tuning their energy, because money flows to calm, power flows to focus, and opportunity flows to people who are clear. If you're constantly chasing, you're pushing it away, but when you align, it finds you. That's the shift, from force to flow, from grinding to growing. The passive path teaches this. Not just tactics, but transformation. Not just habits, but heart. Because real wealth begins inside. So sit with this. What kind of person do you need to become to hold the life you want? And what are you doing daily to become that person? The money will follow, the freedom will follow, but only if you lead with the one thing most people ignore: yourself. If you've made it this far, it means you're serious about change. Not just surface change, but real, lasting transformation. You're not here to stay stuck. You're here to live with clarity, to choose your path, to build something that matters. That's what the passive path is all about. Less noise, more truth, more freedom, more you. If this video sparked something in you, hit the like button. If you want more content like this, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and let the world know what part hit you the hardest. And share this video with someone you care about. Someone who might need a reminder that their story isn't over. Wishing you clarity. Wishing you peace. Wishing you the kind of wealth that starts from the inside. Feel free to check out the other videos on this channel, and I'll see you in the next one.